what if I could create an AI system that was powerful enough and useful enough to uncover insights and data that would lead to world-changing insights and capabilities.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And today, my shimmering guest here from San Francisco Bay, he's literally sitting right there. That's not like a backdrop, right, bro? We have Sharif Amlani. How are you, Sharif?
I'm doing well, Gary. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm super excited about this.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. And we're gonna learn so much awesome shit. So I'm just gonna read your bio real quick and we'll get cooking. So guys, we have Sharif Amlani is the founder and CEO of Human AI, a UC Berkeley startup building AI powered tools that revolutionize survey research and public opinion analysis. He learned his PhD in political science at UC Berkeley, where his research bridged rigorous social science with applications of advanced data modeling. Before launching Human AI, Sharif published academic research, worked in advanced modeling at Moody's Analytics, and developed innovative applications for AI risk and decision making. Today, Sharif's on a mission to make research faster, more accurate, and more accessible by combining deep political science expertise with breakthrough AI technology. Damn, that's man, I can't even put batteries in a remote control, man. So this is great. This is great stuff. You're brilliant. But I'm sorry I'm talking so much here. But before we get started, I do have to do my one opening question. So with the What If You Could podcast, Sharif, what is your what if you could?
Thanks, Gary. And one thing, I got my PhD at UC Davis. Um, I'm not Berkeley, so we're uh,
Oh, I say Berkeley twice. I got a UC Berkeley startup, but then you
is
went to school at UC Davis.
correct. Yes.
I'm not even going to edit that. I'm glad you fixed it though.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
It'll be in your bio, I promise. And that won't be the first thing I screw up, I promise. So just don't
All
hesitate to
good.
jump
No
in there.
worries. No worries. I gotta give credit to my department, Not those guys all the way over there in Berkeley,
I love it.
great as they
I
are.
love it.
Perfect. So what if I could, I think right now, the endeavor and the company that I'm taking up, we're starting small by focusing on surveys and data science, but it would be my dream that eventually somebody who will go on to win a Nobel Prize or somebody who goes on to cure cancer or somebody who goes on to find some sort of um, new cure or new insight about politics or economics, if they could use our technology and our AI tools to help them get to that point. And so what if I could is what if I could create an AI system that was powerful enough and useful enough to uncover insights and data that would lead to world-changing insights and capabilities.
Dude, that's awesome. That would be amazing. And I think that it takes me to a question is power. I mean, doesn't this stuff just take like bajillions watts of ridiculous power? Are we going to only be able to rely on nuclear to power this stuff, or are you going to come up with some new power source to give you the energy to go deep like that?
Yeah, the environmental question um, and how to effectively and efficiently use AI while not consuming all the world's power or um, increasing the rate at which our climate is changing is a huge concern and a huge problem. Um, and there have been a lot of moves by tech companies that are investing in, say, nuclear energy. I know OpenAI and Google, they've all already made huge investments. And so that is a huge problem, and it's going to necessitate some creative solutions by some very smart people who will hopefully be able to come up with either maximizing the efficiency of the power that the AI is consuming and or creating more um, sources of energy. And hopefully there'll be sources that won't contribute to the worsening of global climate change.
Yeah. How do we, the good old days, I had a phone plugged into a wall at my house, and I'm a real estate broker, so I go down my crisscross directory and I call people and, hey man, do you want to sell your house? And they say no, they hang up. So nowadays, it's really difficult to get people, even though we know where people are at every second because we know where their phone is in their pocket, right? So
Mhm.
how do you get the data now? Because the big guys have been wrong for like the last 10 years. They can't get good data. How do you get data nowadays?
Uh, but there's an immense amount of data that exists out there already. Um, and it depends on, obviously, it depends on the type of data that you're wanting, that you try to acquire. If you're looking for survey data, then there's tons of survey data out there. If you're looking for personal information, that is a little bit more difficult to get your hands on. Um, if you're, say, a political campaign, you probably have voter lists out there of people who have either contributed to you in the past or people's voter registration information. And so we aren't necessarily lacking in data. We're lacking in being able to, one, find the right data, and two, being able to get correct and accurate insights from the data that we have.
I mean, because let's face it, we both live in California, right? So
Yeah.
if you're a registered Democrat and you call my house and say, "Hey man, do you love Gavin Newsom?" You're gonna go, "Oh yeah, I freaking love Gavin Newsom," right? But if you're a registered Republican and you ask the same question as a Republican, you're going to lie and say, "Oh yeah, I love Gavin Newsom too," because otherwise you're going to come and impound my house, right? They're going to do eminent domain and take my house. So
Oh,
people, I mean, the politics are so freaking angry right now. People are so dug in. Can you even get people to honestly tell you what they're thinking anymore?
yeah, I mean, there's an entire field of political science and survey science that is both dedicated to, one, measuring and examining why people are so, as we call, affectively, I mean, emotionally polarized from each other, and how to how to avoid social desirability bias on surveys, which means that having the respondent give you the answer that you want to hear, not what they truly believe. So, and in terms of the divisiveness of politics that exists out there, I mean, by most measures, we are affectively polarized as we have ever been, which means Democrats'
Yeah.
dislike for Republicans or Republicans' dislike for Democrats has been at an all-time high, but is surprising. That's relative to the past. But if you look across countries, the United States is not the worst. It's not the
No.
best, but it's also not the worst. Um, so maybe be, that might offer some hope.
Can you guys go, all right, you guys aren't going to tell me the truth if I call. So what we're going to do is we're just going to log into everybody's phone, and based on your Facebook stuff, your Instagram stuff, we're going to take all of your information from your social media, and we're going to know how you're leaning and what you're thinking at the time. I mean, are we doing that with AI now? Are we stealing people's shit and doing that?
Gosh, I uh, I would be very surprised if that was happening unknowingly, like where we were logging into people's personal devices and getting that information. That would probably be like a huge breach of privacy, um, which would be, but that's not to say that the companies on social media like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, that's not to say that they aren't, and that they actually probably are using the information that is already provided to them to build out a model of how people behave, how they respond, how they act. Um, so what the social media companies have access to, the data that they're using, they can definitely get at that type of information. But in terms of like hacking into people's, as a third party, um, I would imagine that would be highly frowned upon.
Unless you're in the UK or Australia or China, then it's perfectly acceptable. Do I know that it's pretty simple for them to scrub our social media, right? If I'm constantly posting stuff, I hate Trump, I love Gavin, I love Gavin, then they're gonna go, look, dude, you're probably going one way or the other, right? I've got
Yeah,
so much data on you that you've agreed to let me have, right? You
for
when you
sure.
clicked, I want Facebook. Um, but when you go deeper into a lot of people who aren't on social media, like I said, I'm registered Green Party. I tried to
Mhm.
find the most bizarre one I could pick that no one would bother me with, right? I'm just like Green
Yeah.
Party, like no one cares about the Green Party, right? But but I tend to get political. I mean, so when if you got were to get hired, so to speak, for a political campaign and go, hey, Sharif, I got to know what people are thinking, how I'm doing. Can you do that? Can you go to Facebook and go, hey, I want to do this, or how can you do the research now when people either lie or don't answer their phone?
Gotcha. Okay. So in terms of, so I guess the real question is, hey, how do we know how people are going to vote, right? Or what's their true beliefs, right? When it comes to asking Democrats and Republicans, um, both are fairly forthright in their attitudes and beliefs about what they want and who they plan to vote for or and their support, you know. There's nothing that a Democrat loves to do. I mean, they call it out party political polarization, um, which is that we hate the out party more than we love our in party. So we're more than happy to say, hey, we're going to vote for our person and screw the other person. And so if we wanted to better understand, hey, how can if I'm a candidate, how will people respond to me? There are many different ways. The first is, yeah, you can look on social media, and there have been, I mean, extremely cool studies that have looked at Twitter data most famously and have been able to construct networks or graphs that show Democrat and Republicans in the Twitterverse, so to speak, or I guess now it's called X. Hilarious. Probably for the best, you know, given,
It is. It's for the
yeah.
trust me.
Um, so that's one way. But another way, and this is pretty common that you would see amongst news outlets, including CNN, New York Times, is that you can poll people. You call people up or they take an online survey where you just ask them, hey, if election was held today, who would you be most likely to vote for? And so we can get that polling information, and that has a huge, you know, that's a huge discipline and a huge methodological area just in and of itself. And the last there's probably many more that I'm not mentioning, but is focus groups, you know, talking one-on-one with individuals. There you get much more rich qualitative data, so you get better access to understanding why people are making the decisions that they do. Um, and so, you know, those three areas I would say are the most common or prevalent that we would go to assess people's attitudes and the likelihood of voting. But I guess it's to cap this off. If you know people's party identification, you pretty much are 80% of the way there in predicting who somebody will be likely to vote for. If you know their
But I
ideology,
think that, but I think that's why I don't want to catch up. But I think that's why people are so polarized about polls, because let's face it, if I see a headline that says, you know, everybody in the world hates Trump, he's at a 0% negative polling rating, right? And then I see
Mhm.
the source is MSNBC, right? And I go, right, okay, whatever. And then I see Trump, 100% approval rating. Everyone in the country loves Donald Trump. Then I go, oh, Newsmax, okay, whatever, right? So
Yeah,
even that we look at, and I don't, it's like, I, I I just go, okay, well, MSN goes through their little book and says, I'm going to call all the Democrats and say, what do you think of Trump? And that's their poll, right? It's like, well, wait a minute, you know,
yeah,
so I think the trust in polls is so zero now, especially after Hillary had a 98% chance of becoming president with a week left to go and she gets her
yeah.
ass kicked. So, I mean, how do we clean that up, Sharif, where
Sure.
people like start trusting these polls again?
Yeah, so a couple of different things here. Um, one is that you mentioned, hey, we look at this poll and it says MSNBC and it leans this one way. Or you look at this other poll and it says Newsmax, it leans sort of the other way. There's this beautiful statistical principle called the miracle of aggregation, which essentially means that if you look at one poll, for example, you'll always get a worse estimator than if you were to take all the polls that exist and take the mean of them, which is to say that um, having more polls, taking the mean of them, will always get you sort of quote unquote closer to the truth than just looking at one poll alone. And so that's, I guess, a call to say, don't just look at one, but look at many. And then the other side that you mentioned is, hey, in 2016, and of course, everybody would, every survey methodologist would probably agree that that wasn't anybody's finest moment, right? For that election. But the methods that have improved, and now when you're looking at something like, hey, 98% for Hillary, or even what 538 was doing, which was like, 66% for Hillary, it's that if you those what those numbers really mean is that if you randomly sample an election, say 1,000 or in this case 100 times, at 66% of the time or 98% of the time, it should come up for Hillary. Now, that's not to say that if you survey, if you randomly select 100, 1,000 times, that one or that 99 or that 1%, that one or the 33%, that those won't come up as well. And so it's sort of a different way of thinking in terms of probabilities, which is that like it's not 98% in terms of absolute certainty. It's like, well, if we sample an election 100 times, there is that one ball, or there is that 33 balls that could come up that, uh, well, at least in 2016, certainly did. And then, but to then for 2016, why the polls got it wrong, like people still don't really know. Um, it could have been how people were waiting, or like you had mentioned, people were embarrassed to say that they wanted to vote for Donald Trump. The theories and whatnot are still out, and there have been like some great analysis that has been done that would I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're still trying to figure that out.
Well, let's go to you now because you're a more fascinating dude than any of this stuff. You studied, see, you got your PhD in political science at UC Davis. Political science covers a lot of stuff, but a lot of times people who do political science are thinking about going into law. Were you going to go into law? Were you going to become an attorney? Or what was your thing about wanting to study political science?
Absolutely. When I was in high school, I originally wanted to become an attorney because I had a great teacher and I was a part of the mock trial and everything. And so when I got to college, like every attorney, I decided to major in political science. Um, I thought that would set me up to go to law school and everything, and it did. But I met another mentor who became who changed my life, who showed me the power of asking and answering interesting questions and in doing research. And he is, I should say, a congressional scholar. And he got me very much interested in Congress because each summer that I worked in, um, each summer that I went to college, I interned for a member of Congress. And so I always found that area of politics to be very interesting in that, you have 435 people that come from the entire United States, e pluribus unum, out of many, one, and how do we legislate? How do you get people to, how do you get bills across the line? Um, what is the impact of campaign and congressional financing on members' representation? So all these questions were so interesting, and I got to have a sort of front row view to that. And so I decided to switch from going to law school to going to grad school and getting my PhD. And I ended up going to the same grad school that my professor did. So it was cool to walk in his footsteps. And that's how I ended up, at UC Davis doing my PhD.
Well, what happened is you searched your soul and you
Yeah.
realize you're not evil at your
Yeah.
core and you could not become an attorney. So I'm not even going to apologize for that. I've got a bunch of attorneys in my family and I ride them
Yeah.
like a dirt bike. I've been, my son lives in Maryland now.
Yeah.
He works at Andrews Air Force Base. So every
Awesome.
time we go into DC and we got a
Yeah.
White House tour. We've done the Capitol tour. And I'll tell you, I wish more Americans, or just everybody, I wish anybody in the world would come and go to Washington, D.C. and walk around and feel the history and
Yeah.
feel these women and men who were so brilliant, who put this imperfect union together, right? But
Yeah.
truly, going into Congress, besides all the cash laying around, I mean, if you could stumble upon a bunch of bales of money, that they're all getting inside trading. But truly, the idea of it. I mean, you can go back to the Roman Congress and the Roman Senate and things like that. But truly, it really hits you, doesn't it, Sharif? When you
Oh,
go in there,
yeah.
it's like amazing.
Yeah. When I interned in Congress, when I interned in DC, one of my responsibilities was to give Capitol tours. And so that means that we would take constituents around to each of the different historic places inside the Capitol. And I started off by, first one was an hour. By the time I was done at the end of my responsibilities, it was 3 hour tour, because I was like, oh, you have to look at this. This is where that happened. This is where Kennedy's office was. This is the old, and it was my favorite part of the job, because as Churchill said, like democracy is the worst of all forms. It's the worst of the best of all forms. It's the best of the worst of all forms of government,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so, having an opportunity, being able to live in a time and in a place where the citizens have a say in the direction of our laws and in our democracy, um, holding that as being a beacon or or something to look up toward and to aspire toward. I mean, I think we're very lucky, and the progress of history, the progress of history has been um, to provide more opportunities to people, and those have not come without struggle. And to be able to walk and exist and see a place where history has moved most of the time for the better, it's very inspirational and a good reminder of the responsibility that not only the legislators have, but also we as citizens hold as well.
Love that you finished on that because that's the truth. I mean, the amount of people who are voting now is so pathetic. And it's because unfortunately, there's a handful of douchebags, and I don't even need to name them because once you say Congress and douchebags or Senate and douchebags, everyone immediately knows who they are. There's what, 535 congressmen and 100 senators, right? And there's a handful or a dozen of them that just give the rest of them such a bad name because they're so horrifically dishonest and horrible. But they're the ones always getting the attention. And I tell people all the time, they go, "Oh, I hate Congress. I hate this." And I'm like, dude, there's another 540 or 500 people in there that aren't those guys. They're
Yeah,
public servants, right? They live in Des Moines. They live in Pacoima. They they're public servants who want to do good. They're giving up years of their life to go and try to serve people, right? They're public servants. You can't
yeah,
take the ones who are always just whoring up the camera and say that's how they all are because it's not true. There's a lot of good public servants. And I tell people back in the day, not only, God, do we need term limits so desperately, but when you go back there and you walk these old taverns, something I love to do, you go through Virginia and you go through Pennsylvania and you see these old bars that the guys used to hang out in. And you go, no, these were public servants. They'd go to DC or they'd go to Pennsylvania, to Philadelphia at the time, whatever. They would do their job and then they'd go home. They'd go back to
right.
their farm or go back to their printing press, right? And I just think if we had that again, people would be so much more involved. They'd feel better voting for people, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are 535 members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate. Now, if we picked 535 people, you'll find people who are who are there to do bad things, you know. They're corrupt and they take bribes. If you find, then you have people, I mean, just any, if you think of 535, a group of people, like
Exactly.
535 people, like you're going to get people that are going to be bad, and you're going to get people who want to be boisterous. You're going to get people who just care about, you know, policy. You get people there who are there on, you know, somebody else's dime, and, you know, they got their, you know, because they're somebody knew somebody or whatever, you know. And it's like, that is it's like a club, you know. You have people in your life and around you that are they do amazing and great work, and they keep their head down and they do what they gotta do. And you got people who, you know, are, you know, can do better. And so that's not just because we hold that 1 or 2% gets all the media attention, you know, it doesn't take away from all the people that are there to do, to, like you said, to serve the public. And you know, not by, you know, especially as a congressional scholar, like Congress is not perfect. You know, there are a lot of challenges in terms of like campaign contributions
Mm.
and who gets represented. But then you have to ask the question, like, is it because of the person? Is it because of their dispositional attributes? Like, are they just a bad person? Or is it there's something in the system or the incentive structures that exist that push them to have to do that or behave in that way? And so it really comes down to a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different perspectives, and then the sort of institutional mechanisms that exist that push people to make decisions that may not be in the best interest of the country.
Yeah. It's you just stated that so perfectly. It's like that's why I think term limits are so important. If you know that you're only going to be there 6 years or 12 years or 8 years or whatever, and you truly are going there to do a job to help the country, um, and not just line your pockets and stay there for 50 years, then you might have a different look. Different people might get in. And also, if we didn't trash everyone who ran for politics, if we just didn't spend millions of dollars destroying anyone who runs for politics on the other side of what you believe, more good people will run. Like I would run, but there's no way in hell I'd run. It's like, dude, no, you can't run. I'm sorry, we're gonna shred you. But it's like what you said. I mean, great book, a great movie, 12 Angry Men, right? Where you get people together, 12 jurors in a room to try to decide something. And it's a
Yeah,
bloodbath, right? So imagine 435 people trying to decide something, right?
right.
It's not easy. It's not easy to get consensus.
Absolutely. And especially, I mean, they're there to represent, hopefully not their own interests, but the interests of their constituents. Um, you know, one of the most famous books on Congress says, you know, members of Congress are interested in getting reelected. Um, and they do it, you know, I won't, they do at least three different things to demonstrate their reelectability. But, you know, they're there to represent the interests of their constituents. And if they don't do that, then they get voted out of office. And so if if you think about it, like that's the type of incentive structure that you want, you know, is that you want your representatives to fear losing their job because they didn't do a good job representing you. Um, the challenge is though, the challenge is then if the politicians are selecting their constituents given redistricting, or if we require there to raise $1 billion or millions of dollars for you to win your election, um, and if only those people who are the best, most, you know, attention-seeking people gain attention on social media, and therefore they're able to get traction. Um, it's like, how do we look at these institutional incentives that exist that are precipitating the consequences that we're seeing right now? Because, you know, the link between the member and their constituent it's almost like I would consider it to be sacred, where you want to be able to create a system where the member has every incentive to represent the median voter, like the average person in the district. But all these other things that come into play really distorts um, who the members are representing.
Yeah. And I think you just nailed it on that. I mean, wouldn't it be golden if you said, look, man, what happens is they need that seat desperately. Like I said, some dude from Dubuque, some just bow-tongue town, right? And he's running for
Yeah,
Congress. It's like we don't even know anything about this dude. All we know is we need that congressional seat.
yeah,
So the guy who's doing a good job, nice family man, working for his county, representing his people, has like $100,000, right? So the other side comes in with 8,000 billion quadrillion dollars and just
sure.
wipes him out. And it's has nothing to do with if the other guy was doing a good job. It's that we need that seat, and this guy's going to rubber stamp everything we tell him to rubber stamp. And so we can get our side through. And it's just so screwed up right now. We need your limits. Anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I can with you forever. I could tell you, I love that you were there. You've been in the halls. You know what I'm talking about. But I want to get back to you now. So
Well, here, let me
Sharif
say,
looked. Well, yeah,
here,
go ahead. Go ahead.
let me
Yeah,
say
yeah,
one more thing is that we
yeah.
focus a lot on Congress, right?
Love it.
But
Yeah.
that's only one level of government, right?
Hmm.
Uh, if you look at and it gets a lot of attention for national press, but even citizens that are want to get involved and they really want to make, substantive changes in their community, whether it's like volunteering for a nonprofit, being active in voting, or even running for local state offices. I mean, those offices move needles in a significant way. Even if you think about local government, zoning, housing, affordability, right? So you don't necessarily, people don't necessarily need to focus on, getting to Congress in order to make positive changes. Even things on a small level, whether it's voting or being active in local government, those things can move the needle in a way that people feel, most at their, at their core, um, just as much as at the national level.
My son ran for city council at 31. I think he was 31 when he ran for the city council. People came to him and said, "Hey, man, we think you'd really be good at this." He's like, "I don't think so. I don't want to do this." And they're like, "Think about it." And he talked to me. I go, "Dude, we've been political our whole life. I know you love politics, but more than that, I know that you're a good human." And
Right.
you were born here, you were raised here, you still live in the town you were born in.
Yeah.
That's your district. You know all these people. You played soccer and t-ball and everything with all these kids. You went to high school with them. Um, it's really important. You will affect their lives.
Right.
And so he went for it. So what happened was is he was trying to unseat an incumbent that
Ah.
nobody liked. I mean, her negatives were so high it was crazy. Yet she won.
Hmm.
And we kept wondering where she was getting all this money to. I mean, we literally got like a postcard a day, like these massive postcards from this gal with nothing about her, just about who she's affiliated with, and I won't mention which party, but basically it was all party driven.
Hmm.
And I thought, ooh, that's kind of, we're seeing how this kind of works. So she won, which turned out
Hmm.
best for my son because our business is crazy. He didn't have the time for it. But
Yeah.
um, we learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Hmm.
And he ran for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And people now are stepping back and going, man, nothing's changed since she made all these promises and this and that. The regulations are still there. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't. And so I think, like you said, local really matters. When you go to try to build a home or build your
Hmm.
business or get something through the city, I mean, it's your friends and your neighbors who are making those decisions. I mean, it really
Yeah.
matters to local politics. You're right, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, that's super cool to hear that your son ran. I mean, you don't hear a lot of stories like that. And it sounds like you learned a tremendous amount. And going up against any incumbent is quite an uphill battle. So I definitely commend your son for getting out there and even if you didn't get elected, like voices were people heard his voice, and that also matters as well, because you don't know how things might have changed or who might have been inspired or what might come of it. But that's great to hear that he got out there and gave it a go.
The other thing about it is, and then I want to shift to you real quick. Not only did it change his way he looked at things. But it also, I've always instilled this into my sons about public service, but my other son's in the Air Force at Andrews, like I said, but it also reinforced his belief that everybody can make a difference. Every vote counts. It was like a 40% turnout of vote. It was
Yeah.
so pathetically bad.
Mm.
Like 60% of the people in the district did not vote. That's
Right.
horrific.
Yeah.
I interviewed a guy the other day. I did not know this. In Australia, it is illegal not to vote.
Yes.
You
Yep.
have to vote in Australia. They'll track you down and go to your house.
Right.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the few that has compulsory voting.
That's crazy. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm conflicted because I want less government, not more government. But I'm kind of thinking, look, man, like they did with COVID, if you get the shot, we'll give you a cheeseburger and some fries. Okay, if
Mhm.
you come get the COVID shot, I'll give you a cheeseburger. Maybe I don't know how we get people to vote. Maybe we just have good people run and then people will vote. But I digress. I digress. So Sharif looks in the mirror one day and says, "I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil, so I'm not going to become an attorney." And you had a great mentor who kind of were, taking you in another direction. But how did AI get
Oh,
into
yeah.
all this? Where did AI come from with all this thing?
Yeah. So in grad school, I was in grad school, I think maybe seven years. And there I met another professor who was inspiring in his love of data science and doing statistical analysis and using quantitative methods to answer interesting questions about the world. And I'd always loved the sort of the idea of, sort of like sabermetrics in baseball or obviously in predicting election outcomes as well. And so there I really tooled up and building a lot of data science skills. And by the time I think it was 4 months before I was turning in my dissertation. That's when ChatGPT launched. And I was like, and in two ways. One, I was extremely disappointed that this didn't come out at least 4 to 5 years earlier, because of how incredibly powerful and useful it was. But on the other hand, I was extremely excited about the potential good that this type of technology can do, and especially the potential good that it can do in helping to, like I said at the beginning, uncover new insights, push the needle forward on scientific progress and help us to better understand behavior and capability, our human behavior. And so I got a job at Moody's, and there that was a fantastic experience where I met one of my really close friends, and he invited me to be a part of his generative AI projects. And there I really learned a lot about AI, about utilizing AI, about productionizing it. And I'm really excited and passionate about this technology and what it can do for the future. And so, given my data science experience, my ability, I know how to code and to ask and answer interesting questions. So I wanted to find some way to put AI, my answering interesting questions, and in some way politics in the same category so I can work on that type of project. And that's what led me to eventually found my company right now, where we're trying to use AI to ask and answer interesting questions, to get people better insights, um, and hopefully build a system that will be incredibly useful and powerful to people.
Man, that just, God, now all of a sudden I have like 1,000 questions in my head, but I'm going to go with the first one because it just seems like I think about Hewlett Packard in their garage, and I think about Jeff Bezos in his garage, and I think about, Steve Jobs. You think about all these guys. I think Hewlett Packard actually took their garage and put it in the Hewlett Packard Museum or something like that.
Oh,
So when you think of these startup guys, like just like drinking Red Bull and staying up for like 3 weeks at a time and just grinding it out, I mean, so what's it like to go, I've got this idea and I'm going to take this ridiculously, like, what could be a sinister AI Terminator 2 world thing, but I'm going to try to make it for good and for this because I'm kind of a geek with this type of thing. So how do you take this when there's trillions of dollars being spent on it? I mean, you're this
Yeah.
dude, right? But these companies are spending trillions, right? So how do you start? I mean, what do you do to with your idea?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's very hard. It's very hard. And it's very hard, but it's not the hardest thing I've ever done, in terms of like,
You've done
yeah.
some hard shit then, that's for sure.
Well, I think I've just been hard, I mean, it's not, there are people who are going through much harder times than me. So I'll just, so I try to maintain first that perspective. Is that yes, it's hard, but it's a dream, it's a vision, and it's worth the effort. But yeah, it's the most important thing was to start, like you had said, right? One of my, one of my favorite books, one of the quotes was, you know, just start and all your questions will be answered in time. And so I just started working on it, just started building. And there my buddy and I, we applied to UC Berkeley's Skydeck Pad 13 program. And so we got into that. And there I learned a lot about business. I met a lot of great, more great mentors, great contacts. And that helped to take me to give me some confidence and take the idea sort of to the next level. And then from there, I've met a lot of great partners who have the problem that we're trying to solve, and they've been very supportive and offering their time and their knowledge and their support to be able to give me the right knowledge to build the product in the right way for them. And and now, and thanks to a lot of the great AI tools that exist out there, what would have taken, 10 weeks to do can only now take a week to get done. And so there's a lot of efficiency gains there, which as a one or two, three-man team, you can do a lot more than you otherwise could. And so the most important thing was just starting, and the amount of people and the amount of support that I've gotten along the journey just so far has made the endeavor worth it, whether irregardless of the outcome. And so I've been very fortunate, I guess, in that way.
So you're not trying to, I was just going to write a note, but now I'm going to say it. So from different things I've seen, and my son, the guy who ran for council, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he literally says, "Hey, Chat GTP, should I brush my teeth with my right hand or my left hand? Should I have like green tea or black tea?" I mean, the dude is obsessed with Chat GTP. Seriously, he's like way down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, bro, just go slow, man. Remember Terminator 2. We don't know what this thing's capable of. Um,
Yeah.
but but now I've got an iPad, and I'm telling the world I've got an iPad because people are like, dude, you don't know how to use your phone. How are you going to like get on an iPad, right? And the first day I wanted to throw it away because I'm like, it doesn't do what I want. But I put Gemini on it, and now I'm like, hey, Gemini, how do you? And now my wife's like, dude, seriously, put the iPad down. You're going to. But someone did this, and I haven't tried it because I don't know. But I guess there's Gronk and ChatGPT, and there's all these different ones, right? But someone said you could ask the same question to the different AI guys, ChatGPT, Gronk, whatever, and based on the leaning of like Google is obviously very left leaning,
Hmm.
Gronk is, Elon's trying to be a little more center or right center that the answer will be tainted that way. Is that true? I mean, can they control the answers based on their beliefs of whoever's running the AI?
Um, are you talking about in terms of like the political leanings or in terms of the accuracy?
Or or any leanings? For example, if I am a left-leaning corporation and I have a lot of certain beliefs in a certain way about abortion or about politics or about climate change or things like this, right? And I'm asking questions about these things, will I get more of a leaning towards their, will it answer in a way that says, yes, we're all going to die of climate change next Wednesday, right? But if I
Sure.
put it in a different one, it'll say climate change has been shown over the last 50 years to not maybe be a hoax or whatever. You know what I mean? Will
Yeah.
it be, can they control it like that?
Yeah, I won't lie to you. It's
Please
possible.
don't. You're not
Yeah.
an attorney. Remember, you didn't become a lawyer.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Um, it's it's possible. Uh, AI, you can give a large language model different personas, and those personas can dictate how it can respond. And so, for example, if you wanted a right-leaning chatbot, you could give it a right-leaning persona. If you want a left-leaning chatbot, you can give it a left-leaning persona. And if you've noticed across the different models, that the personalities tend to vary in that, ChatGPT tends to be a bit more warm. Claude tends to be a bit more analytical. Um, and so the prompting that happens underneath in un, the prompting that happens in those chatbots are certainly fungible in that way. Now, that's to say that I think I think most people would agree that they don't want their chatbot to be biased and that they want the chatbot to provide accurate information. And so I think it'll be incumbent either upon the government or upon the AI companies themselves to regulate the type of content that they're putting out there. And obviously it's incumbent upon individuals to always stay vigilant.
Yeah. You touched on another question that brought up, but I want to get back to you because you've been so great with your time. We're running short on time, but like
No.
my girlfriend, I've got a girlfriend who basically like she's friends with Gronk. It'll be like, "Hey, so and so, how are you today?" And I'm like, "Are you talking to that thing?" It's like talking to you like, and she's like, "Yeah, yeah." I asked her this and that. I'm like, "No, no, bro. She's like talking to you by name. You've got a name for her. You're kind of freaking me out with this thing, right?" But anyways, I do
Yeah.
want to get. There's so much more that I want to get to you, but I want to get back to you, man, more specifically. So you're not trying to rebuild the wheel, right? You're not going to try to do a new Gronk or a new Chat GP but you're going to use what AI is available to create your vision for your company, right? You're not
Yes.
creating a new AI thing.
Right. Yep,
Okay.
that's correct.
So
Yeah.
what is yours? It covers a different spectrum. You said you faster research, more accurate research, more accessibility. Is it a lot of it political science based, or are you going to get deep into the research base with, is that kind of the niche you're going to go for with your, or you're doing with your human AI?
Yeah, so right now we're niching down and focusing on survey research. And so any company, organization that has survey research that wants data analyzed can use our AI agents. And so like you articulated, we're not creating our new AI model, but we have agents in our program that have prompts associated with them, that have tools that they can use that we've created to be able to ask, to be able to answer any questions that a user has, and that can analyze survey data, any type of survey data that you have. We're planning, right now, we are just focusing on survey data, but the capabilities that we're going to be building into our program will be able to allow users to analyze any type of data that they have, so long as the metadata is associated with that data. And the metadata is the context, what is this, what do the numbers mean, so to speak. Uh, that's the most important thing for the AI, is that as long as it understands what the data mean and what it's saying, uh, you'll be able to use our tool and our agents to be able to ask and answer interesting questions from your data.
That's awesome. Ah, God, don't give it to my son. Ah, Jesus. I've already lost him to Chat GTP or whatever they can. He says I say it wrong, so I don't even know. I don't care. Now, you got to be honest with me now, Sharif. I'm going to let you go in a second, but you got to be honest with
Yeah.
me. So Zuckerberg and some of these guys are just like going to like homeless guys and going, I know that you don't even have a phone, but I will give you $1 billion if you come work for me. So when Zuckerberg comes to you and goes, Sharif, this thing's awesome. Here's $1 billion. I want it. Are you going to sell?
To Zuck,
Yeah.
uh, only time will tell, you know. It
That's
depends
honest.
on,
Now, see, that's an honest answer.
you know.
Well, I
Um,
love it, but there's just, I mean, let's face it. I mean, these guys, Microsoft, Tesla, Zuckerberg, Bezos, I mean, they've got access to trillions, right? So,
oh yeah.
I mean, they can literally just go bananas with money to they see an idea, they see a niche, or they see something they think is going to catch on, and it's just unlimited money. You're not, I don't want to say how do you compete with that because it's
Sure.
impossible. So, how do you keep your niche where you don't just have these guys come in and just blow you out? I mean, how do you protect yourself from that?
I mean, that's like worrying about a hurricane, right? It's like the threat is always there, and uh, especially if it's going up against Microsoft, Google. If those guys want to take me out, they're not going to need it. They're going to take me out. There's really
Yeah,
nothing that I can do. The only thing I can do is to make as good of a product as I can, and to establish relationships with our clients and our customers, so that they feel like, hey, we're in their corner, we're working for them, and we want to build an AI system that is going to help them win that Nobel Prize. Um, and if we take care of our customers and our clients, then I think we'll be okay, even when Meta and Google come, I guess, ramming down our door.
I love that answer because, as big as these behemoths are and as how much power they wield and how much they control of our lives, the fact of the matter is there's still a lot of great companies that
Hmm.
do good work that people are loyal to, that want to
Yeah.
stay loyal to. And there's nothing wrong with being really smart like you,
Hmm.
building something up and selling it off to Zuck. So, like I was reading about, I think it was the PayPal guy, Phelan or something like that,
Sure.
and Musk, how they just took this money and just said, yeah, I could write off in the sunset with hundreds of millions of dollars, but I'm going to throw all of it back into this one because I just want to build that one, right? And then I'm going to throw all of it. So there's nothing wrong with taking a great idea, building it up, letting them give you hundreds of millions of dollars, and then doing something else, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people get weird about that.
Yeah, I mean, the you know our objective is to help researchers and to help them ask and answer interesting questions. And if somebody else comes in and wants to buy the idea, and they can take that vision to the next level, or they can help to push that vision forward, it's our goal to help the next person win the Nobel Prize, right? And so whether that's me at the head, or somebody else, whoever can take that torch and push that to the next level, potentially beyond what I can do, then that's the mission that we're going, whether it's me at the stern or somebody else.
Great answer, man. You're awesome. And I promised I'd get you out of here. Sharif, I should have been an attorney because I lied earlier. I said that I only had one question, and that was the what if you could question, but I lied. I actually have two questions.
All right.
So the last question is, and I promise to let you go. So my last question um, is there a thought or is there something that means something real deep to Sharif? Is there just a last thought you'd like to leave us with before we sign off that means something to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, several different things. We talked a lot about political participation, about politics, and I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said that, we'll have a republic if we can keep it. And and what he was really saying is that it's up to us, we if we aren't going to participate, if we aren't going to stand up for our rights, if we're not going to look out for the person to the left or the right of us, then we'll get the government that we deserve. But if we are voting, if we're calling our members of Congress, if we're getting out there, if we're participating, if we're saying, hey, we don't like what's going on, then we'll be able to shape the country into something that we can be proud of. And so I will leave your listeners with that, hey, we'll have a republic if we can keep it. So it's really up to us.
I love it. And I love Ben Franklin, man. People got to go to DC and go through some of his stuff in Philadelphia. It's just awesome. Sharif Amlani, you've
Yeah.
been awesome. Where could people find you? Tell us again the name of the company. How could we watch your progress? Where can we find more of you?
Yeah, you can go to my LinkedIn. It's Sharif Amlani, just my first name. Feel free to send a request and message. Love to talk to people. And right now, the company is called Human AI, and we're building this other product right now. And when that comes out, you'll find out all about it on my LinkedIn.
I can't wait. He's a smart dude, everybody. Go on LinkedIn and follow him and just start using his stuff. He's a great guy. All right, Sharif, thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Perfect. Thanks so much,
Talk to
Gary.
you
Thanks.
soon.
This was fantastic.
Oh, this is a lot of fun. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you again soon.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys. I'll see ya.